Tell us about your little drone thing that's giving you a headache.
Well, so I woke up super early this morning and got started building this one. This is my latest it's a little 4-inch drone, something I can fly around and not damage vehicles if I was to hit them. And so I got this receiver for it, and it's got like this new protocol, and it doesn't work with my radio. So the way you have to update it, the firmware on it is these 3 wires. You actually have to connect it to a radio or something, and you have to resolder wires to it. And I didn't have the proper connector, and the connectors are like they come out of China, so you got to wait a week or so. But what I found is a fan header is the same spacing on the pins.
Oh,
So I cut a fan extension.
dang,
and
dude.
I soldered the fan extension up to the receiver and was able to update it, and it works now. So,
Look at that.
so these types of drone they're hobbies, and they're not hobbies for the faint of heart.
I know it's one of the things I've told these before. I've always wanted to get into. After we did some videos in what was it, 2016 or something like that. And yeah, I'm jealous that you're in there.
It's you've got to enjoy working with electronics, soldering, troubleshooting. I think I spend half my time fixing things than I do actually flying. So, but if you know what, it's one of those things, like when you do get it to work, it's kind of like when you build your computer and you hit the power button.
Yeah.
When it comes on, it's like, I got it.
That's a great part about PC building. I had a streak on these PC builds on the channel. The live PC builds of always posting. It just barely got broken. So, but yeah, that's neither here nor there. Anyway, we are live. We're here. We're a little bit later in the afternoon, which is weird for us. It feels weird to already have had lunch. Usually, I'm like, oh, I'm so hungry, we need to go. But
we did after lunch.
You know what? I'm not going to make any promises. Maybe I will still be hungry by the end of this episode.
Well, it'll be dinner time for me.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So.
We got all the friends of the show here. Is the Will Zells. We got the David Richards, VC Jester. Liquid R says, doesn't Keith know video killed the radio star? The Cobra says, what up, PC World people? Lindsay Murray's here. White Rose, Raid. Steven Johnson, all the cool cats. Freak 777 Power. All the cool cats. What are we talking about today, Gordon?
We got 3 things. We're doing a late afternoon one because we had stuff to do in the morning, and we got Keith today, which is awesome. Works out for him.
Yes.
And us.
It's been a bit.
We're going to be talking about Microsoft playing with our emotions. Playing with our emotions on Windows 11, XFM, and that's not the radio satellite network that no one pays money for in their car, or at least not me, because I ain't paying for that. It's like, who pays for that? No one. It's like the pledge drive. It's like the pledge drive. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm changing over for a second. At least I'm done asking for money. Oh, yeah. No, sorry. Yeah. And also, we're going to be talking about Alder Lake leaks. Just they keep coming. And we haven't heard Keith. I want to pick Keith's brain on where he thinks Alder Lake's going to fall. So
nice.
Oh, yeah.
And questions. So
questions.
We'll be pretty relaxed today. Pretty relaxed. And we are not brought to you by Snapple.
No.
Or Taco Bell.
Or the diet kind. All right, cool. Then, I think we're locked and loaded, ready to go. Gordon, you ready?
Almost.
Okay, let me get that. And yeah, all right. Cool. Fun stuff.
Do you think the Nakatomi logo was actually like this? I don't remember.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. We'd have to go back and look.
All right, ready?
Yep, let's do it.
Oh, wait, what number is this?
188.
Oh.
By our numbering. By our numbering scheme, it's 188. Even though we've probably done over 200 actual episodes, including like special editions and stuff.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's fine. 188, it's the number we give it. We also did an episode 0,
Okay.
All right, let's do it.
In this episode of The Full Nerd, Microsoft plays with our emotions, XFM, and more Alder Lake leaks. Welcome to episode 188 of The Full Nerd. I'm your host, Gordon Maung, with Keith May.
Hey, guys.
And Adam Patrick Murray is controlling the horizontal and vertical.
Gordon, what if I told you that there was a new aliens-based video game that played like Left 4 Dead? Would you be excited?
Is it actually based on aliens?
It sure is. It's Aliens, Fire Team or Fire Squad or something like that?
Yeah, I saw that. I got pushed to me. I was meaning to play it.
I was so excited, Gordon. And unfortunately, even though I know we have our differences, even though I'm the world, I've got the world champion belt here. I think we can both put aside our differences. If you played this game, and we would be like, "Wow, this is a bummer of a game. It could have been so much more."
Oh, really?
It's not bad. It's not bad. You could have fun with it, but you could have fun with a lot of other things. It's just like when you're in the all right. It's got the setting. It's aliens. You got the guns. You got the sounds. You got the aliens. You're shooting fun stuff. But it's just, it's like C tier. When you go back to the home base, the hub, when you're talking to the people on your crew, there's no lip flap. It's not nothing. They just didn't animate the people talking to your crew.
Really?
It's just like it's probably a small team. I get it, but I don't know. I wanted something more. I wanted for us to play it together, Gordon. But I think you'd be bummed.
But do you care? I mean, do you even care about that? Because really, Left 4 Dead was about. When it came out, Left 4 Dead was a concept of getting four randos to actually play together as a team, which is sort of like impossible on the internet, right? And it did work out because they were able to enforce the people who ran off, they would die, and then of course everybody would have to deal with it.
You had to, yeah. Well, but there's the new spiritual successor, Back 4 Blood, coming out. We're getting a reinvigoration of this idea, but I was like, man, an aliens based one.
But it just didn't have the gameplay of.
Yeah, the gameplay essentially is there. You're doing runs, you're teaming up with squad members. Only 3 rather than 4. You've got the guns, you got the aliens coming at you.
It's probably worth it giving it a try because unlike the original Aliens movie, every single Aliens game and spinoff has been more like a Predators series.
Except for Alien Isolation. Alien Isolation was pretty awesome.
That's Alien. Most of the Alien-based games are pretty good because it's just it's just running around a ship like, am I going to get eaten? Am I going to get eaten? It's like, well, that's just sort of like, I don't know. It just, it's like, I don't know. That's what it's like to live basically as, I don't know, the chicken running around in the cage with 100 other chickens. Like, are they going to eat me today? Are they going to eat me today? And that's just not that fun to me. It's just... that's the whole problem. My problem with Alien is just you're the lone chicken McNugget running around there waiting for somebody to come eat you.
That's why this game would have been awesome because it was aliens. You got waves and hordes of aliens coming at you. You got a team. You got the different loadouts. You got the heavy gunner. You got the medic. You got.
I'm going to give it a try, because when you
just temper your expectations.
Well, you have a low bar.
Yeah, exactly.
It might actually, because it's never been done.
I came in with way too high of a bar. That was my fault. I was
Is there some kind of rule, though, where you can have a really great game and it never, ever translates into a good movie, and you can never have a good movie that translates into a good game? What game has broken that barrier? Good movie, good game.
Keith, what do you think? I have a
Tomb
couple.
Raider?
I think the first Resident Evil actually, is not too bad. It's campy B level kind of thing.
In the horror thing, I would say the original Silent Hill film.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
did a fairly
Silent Hill.
good job.
Like Silent Hill 2 is like probably my favorite
Is
game
that
of
the
all
closest
time.
you can get? Though?
It's close. I'd say that and the first Resident Evil.
But it
for
just
me.
it doesn't do it.
Yeah, Silent Hill messed up by doing a second film. That one was.
You know what the video game industry needs to do? Because they keep thinking we're gonna turn good games into great movies. Forget that. The money's in Broadway. So you need Aliens on Broadway, the musical, and then that runs on for months. Get the two people who wrote Hamilton, some songs.
Silent Hill, the experience.
Hudson up there singing with a pulse rifle.
Actually, you know what? Zach in the chat makes a good point. There are a lot of really good Pokemon movies.
Oh yeah,
that is a fair point.
If you're into it.
And that is true. You have to give it to to Nintendo. What is it with Nintendo? They just got that magic spice they add to everything. Like everything's a winner with Nintendo. What is it?
And Henry in the chat also says the Witcher TV show on Netflix.
Yeah,
was not too bad.
I'm just pushing.
But
for
it wasn't
the
really
musicals
based
here.
off the game, but
Maybe the movie's not going to work out.
Musical.
Push for Doom, the musical.
Oh,
Doom
please,
the musical.
no.
I like
Doom
it.
the musical.
I like it.
I could watch the musical.
Well, would you rather pirate Doom the musical or try to get your brain wrapped around the Windows 11 security changes?
Well, it's not even the security. I'm gonna catch people up on this. So what? About a month and a half ago, Microsoft came out and says, "Hey, you know what? Windows 11 gonna be good stuff. Gonna be good stuff. It's gonna be secure, way more secure. You know, Windows, you hate us for security. We've actually been secure for a long time. We're gonna take it up to the next level. KB Lake, Ryzen 1000, anything older than that, get into the light bulb. We're gonna cut you loose." Everybody got angry, shouting, screaming, pulling of hair. I can understand it. And last Friday, they came out and said, hey, you know what? You can install Windows 11 on your old computer. If you bought a computer, I don't know, forever ago in 2017, that was more than 3 years ago, Keith. That was like more than 3 years ago. What do you want? You want to use that CPU from more than 3 years ago? You can run Windows 11 on your 8-core Ryzen 1700. Yeah, that's good stuff. Whew, sure glad you did that, Microsoft, because we're going to be angry. You're not going to get any updates. What? And that, as far as I know, and that's where we're at now. So we went from like, oh, I'm really angry to, oh, you did the right thing to like, what? Not going to get updates? So right now, I don't even know what the hell's going on, because is this just something everybody misunderstood? Because they didn't really come out and say, hey, we're not going to give you updates. Apparently they said, hey, actually, no, you're not going to really be able to run it. You're going to not get updates. Well, I don't understand, because I went from like, because initially when they originally said Windows 11 was going to like throw everybody overboard, I got super pissed, because you can't, that's never been the PC thing to throw things overboard. And they did it. And then that sounded like, okay,
real quick. And when you mean throw overboard, you mean security requirements to be able to run Windows 11. TPM
2.0,
secure boot. Yeah. Things like that say, hey, you need these security things in place in order to install Windows 11 and have it run. If you have a machine that doesn't have those, or if it's past a certain generation of CPU, it's just not supported. So.
You also needed VBS or HVCI. There's a couple other things in there. Just, they basically have really ratcheted up on security. And honestly, as much as it felt really sad, because I love old hardware, you're taking that old hardware and just like forget it, burn it to the ground, because, I mean, you can run Windows 10, but that's only till 2025. I sort of understood it. I mean, I realized we sort of had to rip that Band-Aid off of. These are the things that we need to enforce in the ecosystem for the PC to continue to be secure. I could understand it. It would suck. But then they came back and said, no, you can do it. And then they said, well, but not really.
In between, though, there was a lot of discussion. Should they do it? Some people were like, oh, it's going to lead to more security. Some people would say, well, this is stupid. I have a system that's, not that old that technically should be able to run it.
Right.
Why are you going to lock me out? Yada, yada. I will say I did have my buddy, Mike Dansiglio, who's a security professional, white hat. We did a video, really, really fun. I chatted with him about it. He used to work at Microsoft, and he said on that video, he's like, you know what? They're going to walk it back.
They're going to fold.
Yeah, they're going to fold. A lot of people, said I was in that camp because I trust Mike.
And I said the opposite.
You said the opposite, but it looks like
I didn't think they would.
You didn't think they would fold?
I didn't think they would. I thought they were going to hold pretty tight to it.
That's what I thought.
I was hoping.
I mean, I thought they were going to just like, look, this is just, you got to take your medicine. We finally got to take our medicine like that. And I could understand, because you got, you know what? If you're running a KB Lake 7700K box, it's 2021. You run that for another 4 years. You really want to be using that KB Lake in 2025 at that point. It's pretty old. That's like 8 or 9 years old. That you could almost justify it, I think. Even though it does break the rule of the PC, which we've never done that before.
I would say the differentiator, though, or at least my buddy Mike was saying at the time was like, listen, we're PC builders. We love building PCs. We think we're the ones that everyone should cater to. But really, we're a small market. Imagine going to a large IT, corporation who deploys thousands of laptops and hardware across your organization, and saying, hey, you know what? All these Lenovo's that you bought, 6 years ago, not supported. You're going to have to get your whole organization new ones if you want to get to Windows 11. So I don't think it's really about us. I think they had to fold because the larger organizations were like, what? We're not going to deploy Windows 11 if you're going to do that.
Yeah, but that's what drives me crazy about this, because they didn't really fold, right?
Not yet. They didn't fully fold yet. I think they're going to continue to slide, because this is a weird half step, right? Like you said, they said, okay, you know what, you'll be able to install it on older machines. Go ahead. Oh, but the catch, you won't get security updates. Yeah, right. Yeah, you think Microsoft's not going to deploy security updates? That's
what I sort of think. I feel like, yeah, they're not going to do it, but then why bother with this?
Yeah, this is like a half step.
Well, it's not even a half step. I don't even know what it is. They just should have not said anything, right?
Well, but I think to my buddy Mikey's point is that they're going to keep testing the waters and see how much people get mad until it's an acceptable amount of people who get mad and stick there, right?
Yeah, but I mean at this. Sorry, Keith. We should let you. You got anything you want to?
No. That was it. I was saying like it's like. I think that's what they're doing is the testing the waters, seeing how far they'll get, how much anger there is. It's like, all right, they really lost it over that one. Let's dial it back maybe a hair. See how they like this. But it's like they're beta testing responses.
Yeah. They're playing with our emotions. They're like, well, I got away with that last time. It's like, let me try to push a little further this time. It feels like, it's just like any argument with my kids. It's just like, but it's just like, I just feel like I don't get it, because in the end, if they fold, we went through all this for nothing, right? We went through all this for nothing. I know your friend thinks that, you think that, a lot of people think that. But again, I think.
Well, but on the other side, I think they needed to try it. It's like it was even if they fold, they had to try it again, had to test the waters again, rather than just be like, oh, you know what, whatever, Windows 11, next thing, we're not going to try to press the button.
I don't know, though, because, security is the topic for the foreseeable future. We've had some really high profile attacks. You want to batten down the hatches as much as possible and everything. So I really felt like this is the chance to do it. And, we threw some legacy hardware. We've been slowly doing it, but maybe this for security is one of the things, frankly, people always go for, right? Generally. So maybe this is the time to, I just don't, I don't know even what to think, because I don't think they're going to fold. I think they're going to just come out and say, but like, what is this? We're like in a limbo state. I don't understand it. It makes no sense.
If they don't fold, then that means there's going to be a lot of people who are going to install Windows 11 and then go without security updates.
Yeah.
And then the backlash of that is not going to be good. So,
well, I mean, they can't.
That's the weird one.
Yeah. What do you do, right? Because originally I'm like, well, they're going to fold, but then what the hell is the point of even coming out and telling people why even bother with that? Like, it's just an empty threat. So now nobody's going to believe anything you threaten anymore. And I just sort of, I almost think it's just that time we sort of like Windows 10, and honestly, Windows 10 is going to get a lot of goodness that Windows 11, like in the DirectX side, DirectX storage is going to go to Windows 10. So that's a good thing. So it makes sense just to be like Windows 11, more secure, modern hardware, sort of older legacy hardware, Windows 10 through 2025. And then, you can go ahead and go through with your Linux threat. You've been threatening us with it for 20 years, right? So then but like to come back and say you can do it, but not really do it. It's just like, it just feels worse than originally saying you're going to try to cut people off.
It's less confusing to just do it than it is to come back and be like, well, maybe not all the way, we'll let you install it, but no updates. Why even let you do that?
Right.
That's like going in McDonald's and they're like, yeah, the milkshake machine's working, but you can't get one.
We don't, or it's working, but we never clean it. We just keep
something like
refilling
that.
it.
Yeah, there you go. It works, but it's pretty nasty. There you go. It works, but it's pretty nasty.
You can get it.
Forever.
You don't want to.
It just makes no sense. I'm so confused. And like, I'm, originally, again, I got radioactive at first when the news first broke, because it wasn't really justified. And there was a lot of confusion because like, oh, you need a TPM 2.0. Hey, my laptop has a TPM 2.0.
Well.
We're going to get back to you on that. What? I don't, it's just such this whole bungled messaging this whole time. It's just sort of, it's such a mess.
Well, we do have a $5 super chat from VC Jester. Thank you so much. It says, I don't understand why people are angry. It's like getting mad at your 3-year-old smart TV that doesn't get the latest UI. Or in your case, Gordon, your Pixel phone that doesn't get security updates after a couple of years.
Well, I think the problem is, believe me, I ain't buying another Pixel. So, sorry, Google. I just like I just sort of like, if Google say, oh yeah, you can still run Android 11, but we're not going to give you any security patches for it. Well, what the hell is the point of that? I mean, why? I mean, you just sort of like, you're stranded or not stranded, but just like, oh, you can run it, but it's not going to work or so. It's just such a mess. I think that for me, the thing is like to go from you can't do it to come out and say, oh, you can do it manually, but then we're not going to give you updates. It just like, what is the next? What the hell is next after this? It's just sort of like, it was so unexpected because everybody expected them to fold. They basically sort of said they folded, and then no, we're not. I don't know. I guess I'm just hot over it because I'm like, now it's the worst case scenario because I'm mad at them for cutting people off, but then understanding, but now I'm mad at them for now saying they're not going to cut people off, but yes, we are going to cut you off. It's like cutting your arm off, reattaching it, and then cutting just half of that arm back off. I don't. Hey, that's worse than the milkshake machine.
Yeah, it's like losing a whole arm, and then the doctors come back and said, "Hey, listen, we were able to salvage at least your elbow up." Yeah, and you're like, well, okay, sure.
You ever get the feeling like sometimes it's like, even though you don't want them to do these things, that you're almost like, would you just do it and be done with it?
Yeah.
And just rip it off. Let's go. Let's move forward. Let's be angry. I don't want to say we'll get over it, but I mean, what are you gonna do?
Right.
Yeah,
but
it's confusing. It's confusing to people who follow it. Imagine, somebody trying to go buy a computer and now they're changing the stickers. Windows 11 compliant, maybe, perhaps.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. No, and I for the most part, it actually it all was working out because, for the most part, like the whole, like you'll need Windows 11 for mixed core devices. Not a problem because you're not going to be able to buy a mixed core device you're almost always going to get that in a new laptop, any new pre-built. Then it just comes down to the DIY folks. And, frankly, you're building a new computer, do Windows 11, right? So it's not really, I think it sort of solved itself just by doing Windows 10 for the next 4 years, Windows 11 for the future with more button down devices. And we kind of run them in parallel for 4 years. But I think one of the arguments your friend was saying is like, it costs money. You've got to support 2 different operating systems. You've forked now and you've got to support both of them. It's a lot of money, so.
Yeah, especially if there's some big vulnerability that comes out, So
yeah, so then look at the print exploit right
which
now.
Which happens. It happens,
and it's going to happen. But I'm just sort of like, I'm just so spun around now. I don't even know what to think. And that is, I think, really kind of what feeds the anger and confusion over this now for me, because it's just like, you made it worse. You just somehow made it worse, and you've already sort of like. You've already taken the pain, and then now you're like, oh, I'm going to give some of that pain back, and then actually give you some more pain. So I don't understand it.
We have a little over a month to see where this goes, because the official launch date has also been announced within the last couple of days, October 5th. So we've got a month and a couple days to see where this goes.
Yeah.
Have either of you loaded up Windows 11? I know I haven't. I haven't even tested it out. Or anything.
I haven't had a chance to. I've been meaning to. I definitely think for next generation parts, you'll have to be running Windows 11 to really test it. So again, I have nothing really against Windows 11. I just have problems with how the legacy base is being treated through this. So I don't get it.
I was going to put it on my laptop, and then I realized my laptop doesn't have a camera, and I think that's one of the requirements for Windows 11.
Really? Oh,
for the Windows the Windows Hello
Really?
security. Yeah.
Well, you could run a USB biometric key. Wait, no, that laptop has biometric, the fingerprint reader.
Oh yeah, it's got the fingerprint reader, so that'll pass instead of.
Yeah, I think
camera,
Windows
I
Hello
guess.
is just simply because they really want to go.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's really, and that is the sucky thing about this again, because everybody's all angry about this. But Windows 11 actually has a lot of really cool features in it, and trying to get to a more secure world is it feels like the path. And yeah,
Especially on my laptop.
Yeah.
Something I'm carrying around with me. I'm good with that. So
Right.
I'd like to try it. So yeah, maybe I'll go ahead and do it now, knowing that. So I didn't even realize my fingerprint reader could substitute for that. So
although I do have to know, Keith, like who didn't put a webcam on there? I know who didn't put the webcam on there, but I'm just like, who did not put the webcam in their laptops in 2020?
yes, I bought it. It was the last year model. That
Yeah.
would be Asus.
I know. Yeah, I know. It's just like, oh my God. And the crazy thing about that is they introduced another laptop, 3 months ago, and there was no webcam.
That's funny.
And it was like, you do the 20 questions. It was like, is there a webcam? Is there a webcam? And it's like, I kept asking you like, yes, there's no webcam in this. Let's move on. Right.
It's like, yes, there's no webcam.
Webcam.
Yes, there's not one.
I just want to know who that was. Cause they go by that cubicle and everybody just like giving that person the dirtiest look in the world. Cause it's like,
I'm sick of getting that question.
cause it's like, why would you not? And there's clearly some mistakes were made is the answer.
well, back to Windows 11 real quick. I know we're going to talk about Alder Lake in a second, but Borea Zero, friend of the show, has who, you know what? Sorry, side note, I played some Chivalry 2 over the weekend. We got a team together, some cool cats on Discord, including Borea Zero, and man, he kicked my butt so many times. It was rude. It was not even nice. What a mean person. Just kidding. He's still a friend of the show. He says, does this mean we think Alder Lake launches October 6th? Since now we have a launch date for Windows 11.
It's clearly tied to Windows 11. So, and I keep saying Windows 7 because it's so close to it. It feels like so. Windows 11. Yeah, I think definitely. I feel like we're definitely going to see Intel launch before the buying season, as they call it these days. So,
yeah,
definitely.
All right. We will see. Okay, well, it's a developing thing. Maybe we'll have to. I'm talking to my buddy Mikey. Maybe we'll have him on for a full nerd, so we can do some live Q&A or something.
I think it'd be great because there is a lot of really advanced security baked in to it that features apparently you need 11 for. It'd be good to go over those because it is something. I don't know what it is with security people. They just get no respect from anybody. But I suppose it's like anything. You never pay attention to security till it all goes wrong.
Until you need it.
Yep.
Then it's like,
It's one of those things. If it's going right, it's great, and you don't care about it, and you don't want to hear about it. And then whenever somebody uses your bank account,
it would be cool to talk to a security professional about that, though. What's it like? Because it's like, yeah, I need your help really bad, and they show up and they fix everything. You're like, ooh, that sure was bad. Well, let me tell you, we need to implement these things in the future. Are you still here?
Wait.
Can you come back the next time when everything goes wrong? I'm not going to do anything you just told me about. I'm just going to ignore everything you've done. Security people get no respect. That must be like, that must be terrible.
Yeah. Also, when it comes closer to launch, we'll have Mark Hockman back on again too, who's doing a ton of great Windows stuff over on the website. Go read that. But yeah, let's move on to something else. Some hardware, some XFM, some radio stations.
Yeah, isn't that actually literally one of the? Is it one of the failed satellite services?
Yeah, it was something. Let me look it up. But that's it. My brain put that together. XFM radio. I'm googling it. It says Oh. What is XS? Oh, XFM called now is Radio X.
Oh, they changed. They
It was
rebranded.
rebranded in 2015.
Oh, it's been that long.
So Jedek stepped in with their, well, they're not using that trademark anymore. Let's just go ahead and use it. So Jedek has published the XFM Embedded and Removable Storage Device Standard.
And what is it? What is it supposed to do? It's supposed to replace M.2?
Yeah, actually, I have no idea why we're even talking about this, because I largely think it is kind of misunderstood in a lot of ways. So it's basically JEDEC, which is they bless all memory designs, and it is a standard for removable and embedded storage, which is exactly what it is. It looks, if you look at, I downloaded the spec, which by the way is like, yeah, that's not easy to get the spec, even though it's free. It looks like an SD card in a lot of ways. It's sized about like an SD card. It is running PCI Express up to 2 lanes, 1 or 2 lane configurations. Apparently, it will go into a socket. So it goes into a socket. And even though a lot of people think it's going to replace M.2, I suppose it could in theory, but I personally don't think it would. It'll probably go into the stuff you care about, which is drones, right? And the cars and things sort of that need higher performance storage, NAND, higher performance NAND storage with an interface that's standardized. But clearly, since it's really, 1 or 2 lanes of Gen 4, I don't think it would replace M.2 anytime soon, because that's just, why would you want to come into, who's going to want to come into a laptop that's already behind the curve? Gen 4 is current, and we've got Gen 5 around the corner. So I really sort of see it mostly as a drone thing, IoT.
Drones?
For drones.
Keith's listening.
I got you.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to think like, well, because I saw the headline and said, oh, M.2 competitors, not really. M.2's, bigger. You can put physically more on the package, it looks like. So I think, and you can run, Gen 4 lanes. So why this probably would not apply to most things. And I thought, well, maybe, you get some of these laptops where they solder the memory in place, the storage in place. Maybe there, I guess, possibly. But, again, you're looking at only the equivalent of 4 lanes of Gen 3, which is plenty for most people. But, you kind of think, well, maybe they would want, Gen 4. 4 lanes in any next generation laptop that you would want. So I'm not sure it makes sense.
Could this be something Apple might use?
No, Apple, they have their own controller, and they have a very fixed. The reason why the performance is just so awesome, it's Apple's performance in storage is truly impressive. And it's because they control everything. They'd never, and then they don't need specs. They don't want specs. They want to do their own thing. So it would never, maybe in a low power, ultra thin portable, like tablet kind of thing where, you're not really looking for 4 lanes of Gen 4. Maybe a convertible. But, like super tiny, super light that you would solder in place. Because, remember the original XPS 13 2-in-1 did a soldered down storage, and everybody lost their minds over that. And, they largely did that because M.2 is pretty big. You've just, especially if you're looking at a full 2280, it's a lot of board space, especially in a super thin laptop where you don't have the space, and then you've got to deal with that slot. So by soldering stuff down, they saved, a tremendous amount of space. And I know people don't believe that makes any sense, but there's certainly some designs where it did save a lot of space, and also height. You can get thinner. So with it. So I people said this is going to replace M.2. I'm like, I don't think so. Maybe. They're saying, because JEDEC itself says, yeah, it could go into notebook PCs, but I don't see that. I would think most people
could.
It could. You can drive with your feet, but
some people do.
Like game consoles, it's like, I don't think so. That, even for game consoles, maybe like a Switch or something would make sense.
Yeah.
Right. But that kind of like low power, but now we're probably not anything high performance. So XFM is,
also
better in your car.
The chat corrected me. We were thinking of XM radio, like Sirius XM.
I thought XM had a channel XFM. though.
There is an XFM on XM radio. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
My work truck, my company vehicle that I drove used to have one of those satellite services, and then like the subscription ran out, and it was like, "Would you like it?" I was like, "Off."
turn it off.
Is there a permanent disable on that, or does it just keep looping? Would you like to pay for it, or what does it do?
There's like a demo channel, where it's like
Top 40.
4-minute loop. No, it's only like a 4-minute loop.
Oh,
maybe.
God. Oh,
Wow.
that's annoying. Oh man.
Yeah. So
I never
just
could
use the
get. Does that?
Bluetooth.
I mean, I guess people do pay for that.
I used to have it. I'm just a complete tangent here. I used to have XM years and years ago when I was in college, and I had like the module that you put on the dash of your vehicle, and you had to wire it in. And it was because to and from college, like I was driving home every weekend to work, and it was a 3.5-hour one-way drive, and it's through the Delta region, which there's nothing there. So
Boring.
there's like, there's no stations. There's like one country music station that nobody mans it. So there was one time it got stuck on a song that just skipped for like 3 hours until somebody drove to the station and fixed it. So so there are times for it, but I don't think I could these days. Spotify, streaming services,
Yeah.
just
That's what I don't get. People would just simply.
Well,
your
maybe if you
phone's
don't
hooked up
get
by Bluetooth
maybe if you don't
anyway.
get internet coverage, maybe satellite.
Well, I mean-
you get satellite. I don't know.
Where?
It makes me think. The subscription thing makes me think. Does OnStar like call you when it detects you're in a crash? They're like, "Hey, do you want to sign up for the service? We detected you just had a crash." Or do they get on and
You're
be
not
like,
paying for it.
like, "Oh man, that's a bummer. It looks like you got into a crash. Too bad you didn't pay for our service.
you didn't
We
pay
could have
for
helped you out right
OnStar."
now." Yeah.
If only you had paid.
If only you had paid. Now, you
They could
learned
charge
a
you
lesson,
extra
didn't
at
you?
that point. They could just charge you extra.
You're like, oh yeah, if you sign up right now, it'll be 4 times the price. If you signed up before, it would have been cheap.
You ever do like Costco that way? You try to extend it a little bit, like, oh yeah, hey, your thing's up. Oh yeah, right after we check out, I'm gonna go right to member services. Hell no, walk right past that. Like, give the person your receipt. I'm out of the store. I get an extra 2 weeks. That adds up. That's a tip from Elena.
There you go. So okay, so maybe there's not much about XFM, but maybe we do have some actual details of Intel's 12th gen Alder Lake popping up.
Yeah, I mean, the leaks keep coming. Yeah, this is why you always wonder, Keith. You ever won this too? Who the hell's leaking this? It's like because you're like you must be doing it on purpose because if you're running this benchmark, it's going to upload it for the world, right? You ever wonder that? No.
I have, because like I've done embargoed reviews, and I know you guys have too. And I've always thought the funniest ones are things like Geekbench or remember Ashes of the Benchmark. How many reviewers didn't know that automatically uploaded to a database?
Right. Yeah, no.
And
especially because it says check on there, upload to database, like when you're running Ashes of the Singularity Exploration.
It's even like 3D Mark. It's connected. And I'm gonna here. Can I give an insider tip on how the leak how I would do back in the leak days? This was a fun one. So if there was a product that I knew was launching, but I wasn't embargoed for because I had not, I was not involved in the launch or whatever. The most fun thing that I would do is that whenever I had a feeling, because you guys know when parts are going around, and I would watch 3D Mark, the global ticker, and no joke, I caught reviewers submissions going through.
Really?
Yeah. And there was one instance that I was like, I bet this, and it was totally speculative piece that I wrote. And I put a screenshot, and the person who it was reached out to me. It was actually a friend of mine. I didn't know his screen name on the thing. And he was like, dude, can you cover up my name? And I was like, are you kidding me? You know this goes online. How did you? And he was like, it was a new system and I didn't check the box. And I was like,
Whoops.
why did you even have it plugged in?
Whoops.
Well, the company who sent the part is going to know who it is anyway, regardless of what you write. So that's a screw. And that happens. There's always screw ups. Oh, but I don't know who leaked this one. But so the latest was Digital Trends, August 27th. What is that? Friday or so. There's a Geekbench 5, another Geekbench 5 leak of a Core i7 12700, no K. And apparently they're saying it falls just short of a Ryzen 7 5800X in both single core and multi-core. Looks like 1763 single, 11895 in multi-threaded.
Did they say if it's running on Windows 10 or 11?
I don't think it does. But
10. Windows 10.
Yeah, it is Windows 10, so that definitely is going to be part of the leak control, it feels like. So, but it is outperforming a 10-core. No, no kidding. It's outperforming a Rocket Lake 11900K. There was actually a leak from July I had. I was just kind of like leaking this one. And then the other thing that gets me is this is you don't leak this by accident, but this is it results. Speaking of Alder Lake leaks, which I hadn't even known about, but it is hard to believe it's real. Where is it? Is that it? Sorry, folks, a little lost here. Should have kept. Oh, they're saying. So somebody had tweeted. Somebody who has, I think, a Pokemon, as an icon. Raichu tweeted 12900 KS engineering sample, QS, non-OC in water cooler, Cinebench R20, single-threaded 810, multi-threaded 11600. So that's that single-threaded that is eye-popping in a way, because I think 5950s are right around low sixes. So that is wow. Of course, and this is July 20th, so it's about a month and a half ago. I'm surprised this didn't make more noise, but honestly, I could go in and say leaked benchmark, make up number, plug it in, and have people quote it. So, but that does look good. And 11600, where is 11? Let's see, 5950, 10. Guru 3D is showing their reviewed part, maybe around 10409. So this is a little over 5950 and a destructive score in single threaded, because there's 640s versus 800. If it really bears out when it gets there, we'll see. But that is, but still, it's just you don't accidentally leak some of these things. You don't leak Cinebench or R20 scores. That's intentional. So.
It's one of those dude, you got to see this, and it's see what?
Yeah. What do you think so far? Obviously the leaks look pretty good. We have a video where I on paper I've already sort of said I think Alder Lake will, I just discovered that Cinebench score today, but I think it'll outperform them in single threaded, and it will be pretty much a dogfight for multi-threaded, and it kind of is playing out that way. It looks like. Do you think it's going to work out that way, or who are you going to pick? Now, I want to be fair, Keith, because we haven't tested parts, we haven't seen parts, we don't even know what it is. But you know what? Just like how they will, who's already calling who's going to win the Super Bowl stuff, that kind of stupidity level.
Yeah.
We're those sports analysts now. We're already guessing who's going to win the Super Bowl before the season even starts. So, what's your guess?
My guess, I'm going to go super middle of the road here, and it's going to depend on your operating system. If you're going to stay on Windows 10, I think you're going to be better off on Ryzen, on Zen 2. But if you want to go Windows 11, I really think the fact that that Intel's been working on these schedulers for Windows 11, I think you're going to find an edge there. And I'm interested mostly in the performance of how these low power cores are going to work and what they're going to schedule as far as when they're going to kick into the high performance cores. Because I think what we're going to find is if you look at some things, or I was going to say, if you look at some things, if it's a low power operation, it may look like it performs worse than its competitor, but I don't know, maybe it knows if it's just doing that low power, kicks those performance cores in and goes, balls to the wall. Man, this is a tough one because like part of me is like okay with things not progressing too much because my 3900X has like longer legs because of that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, let's get some real innovations, and the size of these sockets on these are so big, so much bigger than what we've had. I can't help but feel like there's just the raw throughput is going to be there. I think there's sandbagging on a lot of things personally.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you know how engineering samples are. They're typically much lower bend. I think part of what we've seen with Rocket Lake kind of being ho-hum was this is what they've been working on.
Really? Yeah, I think Rocket Lake probably would have been. It was just something designed. I think Rocket Lake very much was Planet of the Apes. They had gone to the Planet of the Apes and they came back and the Earth had been transformed too. Turned out,
they're like, hey, look what we got. Oh,
yeah, we're totally going to take that 3900. We're going to like, yeah, that's our 5950 is, yeah. When they came back, 59, because they didn't anticipate 5950, it feels like.
Well, Ian, Dr. Cuttress, he did his tech. Yes, and on his Tech Potato video, he actually talked about what makes like Rocket Lake, why it was as an itself, maybe not the chip, maybe not the product that you go and buy, but the whole process of learning how to backport and move stuff around and pivot. They learned a lot off of that. So maybe that product in itself wasn't the best thing that you could buy, but it's going to mean a lot going forward. And Intel's getting a bit aggressive on a lot of fronts, it seems like. So they're going to be swinging pretty hard.
Yeah.
Is what I'm seeing.
I think this is for Intel the most significant, desktop launch for them in a long time, because clearly they knew they had been whooped. So they just kind of like, you know what, why bother, right? There's just nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, Rocket Lake, we made it. Let's just sell it to somebody,
Super quiet.
Yeah. But I mean, you just knew you weren't gonna win. And so this, I think, is their first real move. And, and people, especially on YouTube and people who watch a lot of the enthusiast content, the very PC gaming focused content, desktop is not a big deal in the world, right? The money is in laptops. There's way more laptops sold, and there's real money made in servers. They had to defend servers and laptops. That's their main goal for the last 2 to 3 years to stop the bleeding there. Desktops, like, we'll come back to that because it's such small potatoes. Mm-hmm. And Alder Lake it feels like their first real attempt to try to be back in the ball game. But 10850K was, it's good for the money. When you got the value there, it's actually got pretty good. But it was just like, no, it couldn't stand up against AMD. I feel like this Alder Lake will be a significant move for them back to at least fight. I don't know if it's going to beat Ryzen, get the Vcache ones coming, but at least they'll have a competitive part they can go into,
Yeah.
We have a couple good comments from Dr. Ian Cuttress, Tech Potato. He's in the chat. He said, I have to find it. He said, Alder Lake performance. Oh yeah, I already scored 42 points.
Oh yeah.
So it sounds like he's already benchmarking it. And then he said, everyone is going to have to learn what thread affinity is. I don't even know what that is. What is that, Gordon?
Yeah, I don't know how we're going to deal with that pain, because you know what everybody's going to want to know is like, wow, what if I just simply
yes.
What if I just simply bind, what if I set the affinity for this thingamabob to only the E cores? Because I want to see how only the E cores run.
Well, like for me, something that I considered was maybe I worked on a video and it's going to take a while to render. What if I want to play a game? Can I bind the performance cores to this render, and can I use the efficiency cores to play a game? Because I play old games. I don't really play a whole lot of the new games. So when I'm playing Quake, I don't need, full speed everything. So
right. Although, don't you wonder, like, sort of, and I know everybody's going to do that just to see what it's like, but I would think Intel's going to say, you know what, we didn't build this thread director for you to screw it all up by messing with the affinity of everything. Just leave it alone and let it run. I just kind of like, But it would be kind of cool if you got that granular approach. You're like, yeah, let's just run them on the E-cores all day for doing something, right? And then
Yeah. Or yeah, maybe you can like have a toggle if you want your computer to run and I'm sure with the laptop it'll do its own thing, but like your desktop, if you can run in silent mode. So you just ran the efficiency cores and everything just kind of powered down and just run off those. I don't know this thing.
That could be something they even bake into Windows 11 if you think about it. Yeah. Windows 11. No, you really could like they could like, hey, you want to maybe you set a certain power profile and the thread director throws everything down to the E-cores, right? So, yeah, I do wonder though. I mean, because I know that's kind of an Ian thing to run them all on the P-cores or the E-cores.
Well, he just said, remember the first gen of Turbo Boost Max came with a program where you could prioritize programs over others.
Yeah, what's funny is that thing, like if you have it installed in the latest version of Windows, it doesn't even work anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, you had to do that because the scheduler had issues too, right? When that build of Windows 10, I kind of wonder too whether AMD will actually benefit.
Actually, that was a question I was just about to ask from Sid Lives. Yeah, is maybe the scheduler actually give AMD a bit more performance as well?
I would hope so because and this is the one thing. You remember when Ryzen first came out and things were like, man, this is just some weird stuff going on. There were outside of the gaming thing, the whole 1080p, low gaming controversy.
Yeah.
That everybody, screamed about. But I think it was clear there were issues with the Windows scheduler that did not work with the original Ryzen. Of course, remember then AMD publicly this is the way it works, people with Microsoft. Basically, we don't know, but my gut says the original Windows scheduler, when the original Ryzen came out, just sucked. It ran really badly on Ryzen. But the world we live in, AMD came out and apologized, said it is clearly not Windows' fault at all. It is all our fault. Don't blame Microsoft. So you could imagine why AMD came out and said that is because it's Microsoft. You never in this world want to anger Microsoft, who are already angry at me, so it's not a problem. I think that I do wonder, like, I know they've improved the scheduler over and over and over again, so they really have gotten, and Microsoft uses Ryzen in Surface laptops. So I do wonder, like, maybe they can squeeze out a little more performance out of Windows 11, but I mean, is it going to be significant as it is with Alder Lake? Probably not. Yeah. Keith is great.
Bring it on. Bring it on. It's something fresh. I mean, like this is something, there's debates going around the internet, how long the big little core, how long, what kind of legs that has.
Hybrid.
Will they stick with it? Yeah. The hybrid structure. We'll see. I mean, there was a time we didn't think we'd see CPUs glued together on the same package. And, that's kind of a thing now. So,
yeah. No, I mean, it will be interesting to see where we go because they just basically glue whatever they want down the road, different accelerators from different people, and it's going to be pretty exciting over the next few years. What both AMD and Intel can achieve with all these sort of crazy stews of CPUs, where it's just not simply the same thing.
We also have a friend of the show, Francois Piednel. Is that, yep,
hey.
Did I say it right? Yep.
Hey,
okay.
Is he calling from a jet? Because he's always in a jet.
I don't know.
Right?
Maybe he did. He
Jealous?
Did not say, but he did say thread director is such a bad idea. Most of the program threaded use symmetrical threading. When you have slower cores, your end time is the end of the lowest score, except for Pavre and Cinebench.
Yeah, but don't you think, Francois? Because this will be interesting now. And I will say, Francois probably goes back to the days when I remember sitting in the room and Intel saying, "Yeah, this whole big little thing they're doing over at ARM, that's a waste of time. We tried it, doesn't make any sense." Don't you think, Francois, that they are going to manage it? That's why. So we have the P cores. Everything kind of gets thrown onto the P core so that you don't get that kind of weird ass stuff where some are running on the little cores and some are running on the big cores. So. Isn't it sized enough so you can fit everything? For the most part, most of those applications will think they're all on the P cores. You know what I mean? Sir, Cinebench, Pavre, those things that are just running a million threads. Yeah, that'll use everything you can, but it feels like the vast majority of what everybody uses, gaming and everything, 8 core, 16 threads is plenty. So it'll just all sit on those cores most of the time.
So is this going to be something they have to update down the road as new programs come out, or is there some machine learning going on in there?
Yeah, I think there's a table that's built into this is a good Ian question, but there's a table that's built into the cores and basically references it. And they can update it as they learn new things, I think. If I remember from the briefing.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, it'll be really weird. I mean, we'll have to see, right? And hey, Francois, remember that thing about AVX 512? Huh? Yeah, there's kind of like, there's no AVX 512 here.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if I'm sure you'll be able to disable and enable cores as you please through the BIOS.
Yeah, I would imagine, right? I mean, you have in the past, but this will be that's why it'll be interesting to see what control we have over Thread Director. Like you said, you just I want to run this one process that is just always going to be on an E core because I'm going to be running it for the next 3 years. So I don't want to run it on a P core.
Ian chimes in and says, Gordon, the Intel Hot Chips presentation on Thread Director was better than the ArcDay.
Well, I didn't attend because I'm too cheap, but I did watch your stuff. So, and by the way, go look at Ian's content on Hot Chips if you want to see it. That was the cheap way to get the information.
Yes. Good, fun times. Anything else on this, or should we get to some questions before we get out of here?
I think we do some questions. I mean, we'll see. I mean, this is just that simple, fun time where everybody gets to guess, just like, again, they get to guess who's going to win the Super Bowl or the finals or whatever. And then when it comes around to where their team didn't even get near, then they can just pretend they never said something, right? Like,
Well, Francois chimed in and said he was right on saying that AVX 512 needed to go.
That's why I brought it up. But
okay, if you have questions right now, live during the show, at PC World in the chat. If you're listening to this later, and you want to get your questions in, the best places over on Discord. There's a link to join our community. Awesome people over there having really good conversations. There is a Full Nerd Questions channel. I will pull from there. But first, I'm going to pull from a couple things that popped into the chat. We have a $35 super chat. Thank you so much from Mike Quinton. Said asks is a DDR6 GPU significantly faster than a DDR5? Can most of the games run okay on DDR5 4 gig plus CPU as Micro Center sold out of the good stuff? And what's the difference between enterprise SATA SSD and consumer SSD? Sorry, 2 questions.
You want to do the GPU there part, Keith?
Sure, I'll take that. That depends on the resolution that you're running and everything, but most of the cards that ship with GDDR5 up until the last generation, so up through Polaris Polaris, and after that we got G6 with the 5700 series, correct? Hold on, I'm having a moment.
G5, we all are these days.
All right, it's just this is where I tell people all the time. There's so many numbers going through our heads with these things. Look, a 1080 Ti is running GDDR5X, but the 1080 is running GDDR5. It's going to depend on the GPU more than the memory. GDDR6 is better and it's a lot faster. But even on like the AMD cards equivalent, you've got a bus drop. So the overall bandwidth didn't change a whole lot. And that overall bandwidth is the number that really matters more than is it GDDR5 or is it GDDR6? So if it's a 256-bit bus like you got on the 5700, you're getting 448 megabytes per second of bandwidth. Same thing if it's the G6, but a smaller bandwidth. Long and short is, as long as the GPU itself can power the resolution that you're trying to run, I wouldn't lose sleep over the GDDR speed. As long as you're not buying a DDR4 video card in these days. But GDDR5 has been in production for a long time. It's ran for a while. It's good, solid. I I wouldn't be, again, nearly as concerned with the memory rating as I am which GPU, because a 1080 with GDDR5 is probably going to do you better than like a 1650 Super or 1660 Super with G6. So
it also feels like it solves itself, because you're not going to see a 3060 with GDDR6X or whatever the hell it is, right?
Yeah,
because it's just like, and if you could, it would really get you nothing, and it would increase the price of that card so much, it doesn't make any sense. So it's sort of, the card makers have sort of sized the cards correctly for the memory subsystem. So buy the actual GPU number, the model number. The model number matters more than the memory type in use, is probably the safest thing to say, I guess. Is that a good tip?
Yeah, I would go with that. That's kind of
oh
yeah. Uh-oh.
Although it's kind of cool to see, because now I can do like
tickle his nose.
Yeah, I can be Keith and just saying, well, go ahead and buy it. No, but generally you want to buy just simply the actual model number. If you can go out and afford a 3080 over over a 3060, you're going to get more performance. So that's generally the safest way to do it. So
okay. Sorry, we'll see what happened on Keith's
end.
And
SATA Enterprise, Enterprise class SATA versus. That was cool, Keith, because I was doing this in front of your face. I was like a Jimmy Kimmel kind of like talking thing. Or maybe it's a Conan. Who did that thing? But, generally an enterprise SATA SSD is just made to be more durable. It'll have more, write life. They're basically made to run forever under harsher circumstances, and generally costs a lot more too. And frankly, as a consumer SATA SSD is made to usually outlive its usefulness. So I would not pay the money for an enterprise SSD, and no SSD is a replacement for having an adequate backup. So it doesn't matter about like, I'll buy enterprise and skip backup. No, you should still back it up no matter what you have.
Oh yes, multiple times. All right, cool. We got a couple Alder Lake questions. Going back to that for some fun. Rowan Mags is asking, do you have any guesses on Alder Lake price? Will it be priced aggressively?
No, it won't be. It will not be. I don't think it'll be priced aggressively. This is 10 nanometer SuperFin, not exactly like overflowing everything, and it will be, I hope, priced according to its performance. So if it is better than a 5950X in some things, then I would expect it to compete with 5950X in pricing. Although, if you're Intel, you sort of have to anticipate AMD saying, hey, we've been making 5950X for a long time now. We're going to trim it a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how much that factors into it, but this will not be Celeron priced.
Okay. Next question from Anthony Chow. What core speeds will the E-cores run?
I don't think they've released final clock speeds for those. I can't remember back that far. It must have been 2 to 3 weeks ago, but I don't think they have released final clocks or specs.
All right. Some more fun questions here. Jesus Garcia, friend of the show. What's the best 3060 laptop with good thermals, in your opinion, Gordon? Off the top of your head.
I think it really comes, I haven't probably seen enough 3060s to give you my opinion. I have a general overall opinion, which is, 3060 as a class of GPU goes into sort of these ultra premium, ultra thin laptops like the XPS 179710. And then it'll go into like a Acer, $1,400 gaming laptop that's thicker. The XPS 17 may actually have better thermals in that case, but is it going to be enough to be better than that Acer? I don't know, but I think really generally you're going to want to buy if you're going to want to play games and you're going to want to buy a gaming laptop that's a little thicker, look for the RGB. That's the signal, right? If you're going to want to just simply buy a ultra thin laptop to run, Photoshop, Premiere, and all that kind of stuff. That's a different thing. So I don't really think I have a solid opinion on that, but I really do want to point out there are very separate classes of laptops. One is for gaming focus, and then one is really for content creation.
Okay. Nutty Hyper 1, hopefully we have an answer for this. It has an HDR question. One question about HDR. It used to be HDR10 was standard. Which one would you buy for a monitor? Sorry, I'm trying to decipher this. Now with HDR 2000 and the next standard coming, which one would you buy now?
I have not paid attention to it.
HDR is a pain in my side. Anytime I've ever tried to mess with it, it's not turned out well.
Yeah, I actually, if you watch that build, I unboxed quickly there's a dark matter. There's a 180 hertz refresh rate, 1440p IGZO panel.
Yeah,
I've been using it at home. It does have HDR support. I can't remember the specs. But yeah, I immediately turned it on and got washed out Windows colors, and I was just like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it even? And then there was options. I had to go into the NVIDIA, and then there's separate options for, do you run it on full screen only? Do you run it on? And so I ended up turning it off for now. So
the way that I handle HDR, and almost everybody that I've talked to that has bought a monitor that has any degree of HDR support, even the better ones, they tend to ultimately end up turning it off. I don't know that I would buy for that feature. I think I would treat it as a good it also has that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That's how I would make that purchasing decision on those. I would buy around the other specifications, and then I would treat the HDR, if it has good HDR, as a bonus.
It does feel very half-baked in Windows right now still, as far as the desktop side. I don't know about the gaming side, but the desktop side it is a bit of a mess.
Like, it's great for movies on a TV that it's all done through there, but through Windows, it seems like maybe with Windows 11 it'll get better.
Yeah, yeah, maybe.
Hopefully.
What about on my KB Lake though, and I'm running? No, yeah. There's some of the laptops I've seen. If you enable 10-bit mode, HDR 10-bit, and you unplug the laptop from AC, the screen will visibly blink off for a second as it readjusts. And if you plug it, it's really kind of not all there. It feels like.
Yeah, it's a bummer. Okay, then Dr. Ian Cuttress has a question. Gordon and Keith. What do you do with the review samples you never get time to test? Also, what ideas for content do you have that you never get around to doing?
Oh God! See, Ian's trying to steal our ideas here right now. Mm-hmm. That's pretty clever, though. If he asks you publicly, no, it's a bummer, right? Because you get stuff, you want to review it, and then typically it's like, you send it back, or they want you. Sometimes they just want you to library it, so you have it to reference, later on when something else comes out. But no, yeah, that's the worst thing, right? Because you are in this business to take hardware, render an opinion, and write or talk about it. If you can't get to it, you feel it just gnaws at you every day. It's the worst. I know people think like, oh, that's the best thing in the world. It's like, no, because that box is staring at you. That box, it's staring at you. It's just going.
I'm looking at it right here. I have an Intel Element board that was on loan from a company, and I keep emailing them going, please give me a return address for this. And they're like, oh yeah, we'll get that. And I'm like, please? I've had it for entirely too long, and I missed the window, and it's no longer relevant. I'd like to give it back to you. And they're like, well, we liked what you did with it already. And I'm like, no, you said it was a loaner. Please let me give it back.
Yeah. No, it's terrible. It is terrible because it really does. I have like a laptop, like, oh God, I didn't get to it. It's just sitting there in the box. And it's just like, you feel guilty. You just like every day, you're like, I got to do that. But the river keeps moving. You keep moving down the river, and like you will yeah, no, it's terrible. And I'm sure,
He says he's staring at 45 boxes of unreviewed hardware.
right. And you just feel terrible, right? But I think the thing is like, you keep it in the library because it is actually very handy to go like, I'm going to take a 10th gen. I'm about to send back a 10th gen laptop to somebody who's like, you know what? Before I do that, because I just came out with this new new benchmark, I want to run it before I box it up and send it back, right? So it is sometimes nice just to have that library to refer to over time. So, yeah, no, generally, yeah, no, I hate it because it gnaws at you every day. And then you see that PR person or you try to email over that, and just like that guilt will just like kill you. And it's not like you need it to use. You just simply, no. And then for ideas, yeah, there's so many ideas I wish I could do, but I haven't been able to do.
Yeah,
so.
we talk multiple times a week of like video ideas, and we're like, crap, we don't got time for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Like one of the things I've been wanting to do lately is I've got this nifty LDAT system, and I think you got one too, don't you, Gordon?
I just got one because I want to do something really cool with it.
So, and if anybody else steals the idea, then that's great because then I'll have the results. I wanted to take like a streaming service and actually measure latency on it. So, and here's the thing, and I use
game streaming service.
Yeah. And the specific example, which I got started on it, and of course that boat went down the river and I lost it, was so my laptop, the Zephyrus G14, I got one with a GTX 1650 in it because I didn't get it to be a gaming machine, just a portable little workstation. But I was playing Cyberpunk 2077 on it, and I tried it with GeForce Now, and it felt like the actual game ran with less latency through GeForce Now than it did with the integrated with the GPU, the dedicated GPU.
Wow. Yeah, that'd be. You want to hear my LDAT idea? And yeah, Ian's like taking notes right now. It's like, hey, got that next week. That's Tuesday's video. I actually wanted to I got the LDAT in because I am very curious for how much input lag is induced into laptops and systems from really low grade, crappy USB support.
Ooh.
Right? Because you think about it, typically USB and PCH or South, whatever, it's all pretty good, right? So my thought is like, well, what about running it through a USB hub? Or what about running it through just what I know is, some of these subpar, ASICs that for USB, how much does it make any difference? Is it drivers? I don't know. Or does it even not make any difference? It may not make any difference at all, but I was very curious to try that. Yeah, running through a dock, because a lot of people will just run their mouse through a dock. And, my guess is most of those people are not really competitive gamers anyway. So I don't care what kind of sneakers you got. You ain't going to get no better. But I do think maybe it'd be kind of fun to just like, holy smokes, you're eating like, 20 milliseconds of latency from this so-and-so, USB controller on some other boards, right? It's possible.
Yeah.
Or through Thunderbolt. Does that induce any kind of latency to it? So LDAT might be a cool way to look at it. So that's one of those ideas, which I probably will never get to. But I'm going to try. Since I have that LDAT staring at me every day going, hey,
there you go.
Use me.
Ian says he does not have an LDAT, so he can't do that. All right, some more questions. David MSG 6800 XT has a topical question. What is the least expensive power supply that you would feel safe recommending? Gordon, I think you've talked in the past about buying the cheapest case that comes with the power supply.
Well,
maybe you're not the right person.
I do that for competitive reasons, because when you do a building competition based on price, you have to win. Nobody talks about things going up in smoke. For would I personally do it? Maybe. I just generally, maybe for that 1 out of 100 times it takes out your hardware, it's fine. So lowest, I generally think if you buy name brand power supplies from a company that will stand behind it, you're generally in good shape. Clearly, that is not always sometimes a problem. I got a really good deal on a GP 750 though, used on Amazon.
Is that one of those gigabyte Power supplies.
Yeah, it was used. $60. Really good price. I'm not even kidding. Didn't even come with a box. It just came in a brown box off Amazon. It was like $60. Shh. It's gold. It's gold.
There is a particular power supply that I actually have bought numerous units, and pretty much every time they go on sale at Best Buy, I grab one. Because they usually go on sale for like $30 or $40.
Wow.
And it's an EVGA 600 watt. It's a 80 plus white rated. But I'm not trying to run high end systems with them. They're just for. I usually end up giving them to friends who have problems, or they're trying to buy. They used to. They could grab a graphics card and they needed a little extra power than what they had. But they're certified. They're not. You're not going to XOC with them or anything. So, and it's a 600 watt power supply with 8 plus 6 pin and a pigtail on it. So, for your GPU,
is there really 80 plus white?
Mm-hmm.
Holy smokes.
It's actually just 80. It's just 80 plus.
Oh, okay. The base level of 80.
Yeah, yeah. It's just base.
Oh, okay.
They got it.
I think they're coming up with new colors these days for 80 plus.
No, it's in my opinion, it's probably a much more comfortable than like an in-house brand, just a house brand kind of power supply. And it's black with all black cables, so you don't have ketchup and mustard. So it's a nice power supply that's solid. So.
Oh, okay. It's interesting because I recently built a relative's computer with an ancient Rosewell power supply that had sitting around for,
Did you not like them?
What's what I had, because it was all free. So it's all like the person bought the case. I used all the old leftover hardware I had to build the system. So it's money out of my pocket. I couldn't afford a gigabyte power supply. So I just going to use this one.
I was going to say the donuts in the dumpster.
I wonder though. And she's been saying, yeah, it's been blue screening. I'm like, oh, damn. So I don't know.
Yeah. Look at Best Buy. Next time they got one of those. Yeah. Next time they have one of those on sale, just grab one. It may give you a peace of mind.
I do wonder though, because I think, to talk a little bit about the gigabyte, power supply, problems. I think what's kind of disappointing about that to me is generally you say you buy from a good brand, you're generally in good shape. There's no guarantee, right?
Yeah.
And because, everybody sometimes has to substitute parts because supply chains are in a mess. Sometimes you got to have stuff to sell. If somebody missed a decimal point somewhere, it can be bad. But I'm kind of, what do you do now? Because that's what I think is really kind of terrible about the fallout from the whole gigabyte thing is, normally you go like, yeah, name brand power supply is the safest bet because there's literally hundreds and hundreds of different models and built during different times with different components that may have been subbed out. So, I don't, it's hard to give people rules that will keep them safe these days. I don't know, except you can't tell people to go buy a really nice high-end power supply if they don't need it, right? It's just that is the safest way to do it. Is you don't get good quality for no money, but I don't.
You can also overspend.
You can overspend, but
I did that early on. Yeah.
But overspending also means you got a really good power supply too, right? So did you really overspend?
In the long term, if you're out of that efficiency curve,
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's just a mess.
Yeah. Okay, a couple more questions. Rowan Mags just asked, what are you hearing from the ether about GPU prices? TSMC prices going up. Is it time to buy a GPU now or wait for Intel Arc? Anything about mining? It looked like it was going down, but then now it's, Keith says, who knows?
I'm going to be honest. Like, I thought we would be in the clear back in March. I missed that. I missed it. I was way off. I don't know. I wish I could say that next week something's going to happen, but everywhere I look, it's reports of cutting back, wafer costs going up, and I don't want to say we're at a new normal, but for the next little while, it's kind of It's one of the reasons I'm starting to explore things with like the streaming services or finding, I don't know, maybe it's time to dig into that back catalog.
Mm-hmm.
You mean older games or just?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many, let's be honest, there's so many great games that, even if you built a good system and your GPU is not the greatest, you can still go back and play so many games.
Oh, yeah. That's what I've always said too. Yeah.
And if you're trying to play 1080p, I mean, you don't have to, it doesn't take that much of a graphics card to really play 1080p games, even ones that people aren't buying for mining,
What about
everything's cost more?
What about buying a laptop? Because it definitely, I know, although even laptops I'm hearing are starting to get like a little lean in supply these days. So
they are, but this is, I mean, you're getting to the point now, especially if, if you're a DIY kind of person, maybe it's time to invest in a laptop and play on that for a while. I mean, you can still hook it up to a monitor. You can have the desktop experience with a laptop. It's not as flexible. It's time to get creative. I guess that's what I'm getting at. It's a time to start getting creative.
Somebody needs to invent the reverse eGPU. So you buy your 3080 laptop, you plug it in with Thunderbolt 4, and then now on my desktop, I'm using the 3080 in my laptop to play games on my desktop. Like Intel's like, what? No, that's not how it's supposed to work. It's just you run an external GPU on your No, I want to take your 3080 laptop and I use that 3080 with my desktop hardware.
Oh yeah, check out. I got this 3080. It came with this interesting enclosure that looks like usually the shroud is cool, but it just looks like a laptop. It's a weird shroud. Yeah. It just looks like a laptop, but there's a 3080, it's just a 3080.
You could really make a solid argument for that, I guess. I mean, you could if you had like Thunderbolt 5. Oh, we've lost Keith again, and he's got an expression on. No, there he goes. No, he's cringing because this idea is insane. I thought we lost him. No, you could say like if Thunderbolt 5, you really could like, well, why can't I use my GPU for my laptop on my desktop? I know that's insane, but
that's insane. But that would be hilarious.
Yeah, that would be. Well, okay, I'm going to guess. All right, I'm going to make a prediction. 2022. I think by fall this time next year, we will be in better shape because not everybody can continue to buy 3080s, right? There's just, maybe we'll have
then it'll be a 4080 by then.
Well, we'll probably I don't know. I don't even know. Well, you have ARC, you'll have AMD, you'll have NVIDIA, so you're gonna have a three-way competition. They're gonna be fighting. The world will consume every single thing they make, but maybe, it's not like you bought a 3080 this year because there are people buying them. They're not gonna go buy another one next year, so maybe it'll get better by next year. It's just gotta get better.
Womp womp.
Yeah. Market saturation.
Yeah, market saturation. But
it's got to get better. Gordon's famous last words. It's got to get better.
And that is the point where we're now damaging PC gaming. We're clearly into the damaging of PC gaming, which is the reason why this is so horrible.
Yep.
So
it hurts our souls. All right. Well, question from a friend of the show, VC Jester says, as we begin to run into the physical limits of the materials used in development of more computer power, do we need to give up on the x86 instruction set if we ever want to lean forward into compute? How many years away are we from finding a cost-effective substitute for our current materials used in processor design? This is where Ian starts furiously tapping in at the keys in the chat.
Is he already typing?
Well, no,
we'll just wait for
VC
Ian's answer.
Yeah.
I just go. You want to go? You go.
No, you. I'm about to have to go though.
Oh, you're gonna have to.
Okay. Yeah.
I would say this is not just simply about hardware. This is about hundreds of millions of devices running legacy things. So I don't think you simply just flip a switch and we're all suddenly lovely living in some kind of ARM architecture world. I don't think it works like that. It just doesn't happen. So No. I think it's... Well, you'll be able to buy GPUs at affordable prices before that's going to happen.
That's the sign.
It is a sign. It is the sign we got to go.
Actually, Keith, if you want to pop off, I actually do have a couple good questions for Gordon.
I'm gonna
Hey,
make
guys.
Yep. Thanks for stopping by, man.
Oh. I think I hit it. All right, bye.
Force push. Oh, it worked.
Oh.
See, the force push worked.
Now we see you. We're just gonna have Windows.
Yeah.
Up. So no cloud. This is a good question. So thank you, Keith. Sorry, I do have a couple questions for you, Gordon, that I think would be fun. No cloud, with the announcement of 10 to 20% price increases on silicon, he's referring to the TSMC thing. Should Microsoft back off of Windows 11 hardware requirements? Do you think because price is increasing that they should back off because of that?
I don't think so, because Windows 10 runs just fine, and they have pledged to support that through 2025. So I don't think. I mean, I don't see why come on, let's be honest. They're not going to do it. Prices will go up somewhat. I would imagine most of the vendors have already booked everything already, so it's probably further down the road. No, and I don't think they're going to do that. I think the hardware requirements. Because I really think you're going to have a Windows 10 world and Windows 11 world, which is what we're going to end up at. So I don't think they really need to. And Windows 11 to me is still very much largely about sort of new devices that are coming along and also security. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. 2 more questions, and we're gonna Kraken. Friend of the show, thank you. Said, did Intel discuss how it will reduce the latency between P and E cores when they communicate with each other or have thread dependencies?
They did. It was hard to stay awake at that point because your brain is just sort of fried. But I think what they have significantly increased the responsiveness of the CPUs themselves, just to simply, boosting up. I think it was what milliseconds and microseconds, or whichever one is smaller. But basically, it's a significant increase in the responsiveness in this over previous design. So I think that kind of addresses it. We'll see Ian's little cool thing where he's measuring, core latency down the road. But ultimately, that's pretty cool stuff. But the only thing that really matters to you is, does it run what you want better? So. Mm-hmm. We'll wait and see.
And last fun question of the day. We get this kind of stuff all the time. David MSG 6800 XT, friend of the show, is asking, Gordon, how much did Dell pay you to shill that 4-fan laptop? Talking about the Alienware one.
Oh yeah.
How much?
Yeah,
give us a number.
They paid me in
Snapple.
In Snapples. Yes, one diet Snapple. Yeah. No, it's just simply you cover cool stuff because it's cool. And I think maybe the issue is people don't understand how thin that Alienware is. It's pretty damn thin from what you're seeing out of most laptops, gaming laptops in that class. So
almost suspiciously thin, I think is maybe what you said on the video too. I can't remember. Like how is that even working?
Yeah,
you're so used to a gaming laptop being thick. But if you don't see it, you're like, there's got to be something wrong with it. Yeah,
and the most gaming laptops are they're significantly thinner than what they used to be too. So that Alienware, if you look at it, it's like, wow, it's pretty crazy. I guess the question is, what are the compromises that came out of it to get there? Are there any? I haven't seen yet. I think they are for sale to some people. Some people have bought them, but we'll have to wait and see when we get one ourselves. But it is it's a pretty cool design for what it is.
Okay, cool. Speaking of cool designs, we have more merch coming. Stay tuned for that.
Oh,
I'm so excited. So excited. Stay tuned. Anyway, Gordon, let's get us out of here. Me and you. It's just us.
Yeah, it's just us. Check back next week for your fix of PC talk on the full learn. For audio listeners, subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or Stitcher. Also, if you're on one of those services, please leave a review. Every time you do, we get paid in Diet Snapple to drink things. Send questions and comments to thefullnerd@pcworld.com. Thanks for coming. I'm Gordon Ung with Keith May, who's already checked out. And Adam Patrick Murray's going to hit the off switch.
Yeah, everyone left us. It's just me and you, and all the chat. Thank you, chat. We see you later next week. Goodbye.